Greetings, Exalted One. Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. Wanted to talk about Jabba the Hutt and his playset, and I might as well throw in Sy Snootles and the Rebo band at the same time. Given that there's a whole sequence in the Book of Boba Fett, which came out a little while ago, where Boba Fett is sitting in Jabba's throne, I thought, let's just talk about the original Kenner. Now, there's some interesting bits to do with Jabba here. Let me take his pipe out. The toy is kind of... I always thought it was weird that this does not match the color of the character that we see in the movies. This one is very lime green, kind of... Well, maybe not lime green, but this is a very green figure. And although this is old, it's not because it has aged. This is actually pretty much the color it's always been. And in the movie, he's got much more of like a modeling, darker, brownish almost color to him. So what's that all about? However, what's very interesting is there are variations of the Jabba the Hutt where his head is much more squishy. I think in the Mexican version, something like that. It's worth noting, you see his eyes, which are the window to the soul, if he has a soul. I remember reading years ago that the people who run the storehouse for ILM, they said that unfortunately of the 1983 puppet, the only thing left is his eyes. All the rest of him has dried up and blown away over the years. So spare a thought for Jabba's eyes. That's all that's left of him. This is kind of a neat toy because he's got the little gap in his mouth there where you can put his, I think it's called a she or something like that, his smoking pipe. He actually, if you rotate him, let me just see if I can do this without the band giving it up. If you rotate him, his tail moves, which they used in the commercial. They used to show he would knock over C-3PO doing that kind of movement. So that was interesting. There's also underneath, not much, just the hinge for that moving tail part. This is all very hard plastic, so is his tail, but his arms are kind of rubbery, a little bit bendy. His head on the North American version is harder than that. Sorry, not as hard as that, but harder than the arms, so it's kind of interesting. Couple of points about Jabba's arms. So, he has... If I can lift it, it's a little bit delicate, this piece. He has a grand total, if you can make it out, of 3 digits. He has a thumb and 2 fingers on that side, like in the movie. And on this side, he has 4. He's got 3 fingers and a thumb for holding the pipe. I don't know if the light's very good on that, but yeah, you can make it out there. So Jabba the Hutt has a birth defect or something? What's that all about? And interestingly, I recently saw some posting online about how in the movie, Jabba the Hutt actually has a tattoo on his arm, and it signifies the part of the Hutt clan that he's a member of, and it's like, what is it? D-Silgic or something? How would you pronounce that word? Anyway, does this figure have it? Well, he's got something on his arm. There is like a little detail there. I'm trying to get the light, but also the focus right. There's some kind of, like, it's further up his arm. This is a little splotch of something. So, but then he's also got one there. So I think that's just trying to replicate wrinkles the puppeteers inside would have had. Jabba was a really impressive bit of puppeteering work back in the day because he had 2 actors sitting inside of him, one doing this arm, one doing this arm, one moving the legs, the mouth, that moving the eyes, or maybe the eyes were remote control actually. And then there was another guy down here moving the tail back and forth, backwards and forwards. So yeah, Jabba's kind of cool, and I got him because he's part of the series, but it's not like I did a lot of adventures that involved the Hutt gangster, so it was kind of pointless to have him, but I just thought, well, I've got all the other Star Wars stuff, I might as well get Jabba. Now, let me also discuss this, which I'm going to set Jabba to the back. This is his throne, the thing that he's sitting on, but I have kind of a nitpick to do with this whole thing. Now, before I go farther, though, I forgot to do this in my last Star Wars video. I need to pour myself some whiskey. Why? Because anything to do with toys and Star Wars and things like that, things that might be considered for kids, there's a group called COPPA that might say, hey, this can't be monetized and no comments and it has to be marked as such. But because I also have some Stormtrooper whiskey, I'm going to pour that into the glass and drink it while I'm talking about Jabba so that I don't get that kind of a strike or notification. So let's pour ourselves a good old healthy snifter of Stormtrooper whiskey. There we go. Kind of makes sense too with Jabba and his cronies. I'm sure they're all whiskey drinkers. You know, you're in the gangster's lair, so of course there will be drinks poured aplenty. So, as per usual, we would be honored if you would join us. Excellent stuff. Okay, so what is my nitpick, my problem with Jabba's throne? Thing he sits on, his pallet? It's a really cool little piece. Now he's got the pipe, and this is the, this comes off. There will be some liquid in there in the movie version with a little frog that he ate. That's all there, and that's complete and looking good. My pipe had to be, I had to retie this little bit here. I think it's supposed to go up inside the little hole inside there, and if you make that out. But it has come out, so I think I just sort of tie it and leave it loose there. And you got a row of heads here, just like the prop, or the original movie thing. They, the inner ones are just sort of decorative. There's a little wire here that I'll show you what that does in a second. But the outer ones actually open up this little panel here. So inside on this wire, oh no, oh yeah, there it is. You've got a little neck brace for a prisoner. I think I'll just sling that back in because I sure as heck don't want that piece to go missing. That would be for Leia, or in the cartoon, it's 3PO, they throw that around. And then inside here, whoops, there goes the pipe. Inside here are some lizards and skeletons and bits and bobs, and you would think to yourself, okay, so in the movie, Jabba pulls some kind of a lever, and Luke and the Gamorrean guard fall down below to the Rancor, which I've done a video about mine. And maybe this is sort of emulating that. Like maybe this is supposed to be a trap door and Luke can fall inside, but it's not a very far way to fall. And there's no Rancor in there, that's for sure. But as somebody else pointed out on YouTube, maybe sitting underneath Jabba the Hutt is a worse punishment than trying to fight the Rancor. Who knows? What is my grief with this thing, though? Well, on the box, Jabba, move my whiskey out of the way, Jabba and his throne are kind of described as being the Jabba the Hutt throne room play set. And I don't know, does a glorified chair qualify as a play set? Like, it's really Jabba and his furniture more than anything else. Because this thing in the movie is a big, like, block that doesn't really do much other than roll forward as Luke is being attacked by the Rancor. Oh, that came off again. So, yeah, I don't know that that's really the case. Is this block of cement a playset? Sure, it's got rotating bits and you could have characters fall inside there, but that's a real loose interpretation, I think, of the word playset. Regardless, we also have Salacious Crumb here, who sits with Jabba and laughs his maniacal laugh and does his bits. Not terribly posable, like even the tail doesn't move, the arms don't do anything. He just sits, and you know what? He doesn't even sit all that well. Like, if you get him at the wrong angle, he's pretty much going to fall, except for now that I'm trying to make him do it. But, you know, you gotta have Salacious Crumb with Jabba the Hutt. Now, the band. Let's talk about Sy Snootles and the Rebo band. Sy was, they were all sold together as a group, no pun intended, in a box together. Sy Snootles, this is the original one that, based on the puppet that appeared on the set in Return of the Jedi. So the eyes are kind of just straightforward blue. You don't get an indication that these are very expressive eyes like the rather terrible CGI version was later on. little fringe of a feather there, loincloth, and interesting looking little feet, chicken feet. But, you know, Sy Snootles doing their thing. Actually, the material has held up rather well. And luckily, Sy can hold on to her microphone very well. We got Droopy McCool on, I don't know what the name of this instrument is, but it has a name. And there's not a lot to Droopy. I mean, can the legs even move? Oh, they can. Good Lord. I didn't know that these rather Harrison legs could be moved. That's interesting. And yeah, the instrument goes into the mouth. And there is actually Droopy you do see on Jabba's sail barge when the attack is taking place over the Sarlacc pit. And I think he's sort of laughing away, so you could at least do that. But let's get that instrument back into the mouth so that you can play us a song, Droopy. And finally, now this is an interesting one I hadn't heard about. Max Rebo. Now, everybody has the problem that Max has changed color over the years. There's the keyboard there. Max used to be this color of blue all over. And unfortunately, with the passage of time, this plastic has aged at one rate. Actually, you know what? I'll bet you it's the same plastic as this, but because this is always exposed and the legs are always down inside the piano area, it doesn't get exposed to the same amount of light. But you can see, yeah, we've got not yellowing, but like pinking. Max Rebo has turned a very pale color at the top, which is sad, but that's the reality of classic toy collecting. And this is pretty much universal. Let's have another drink. Yes, this is pretty much universal. All classic vintage Sy Snootles that I've ever seen. Sorry, Max Rebos. I've all got this sort of pinkiness to the blue that has gone away. And the keyboard itself is... These don't actually... I don't think you can play the actual notes. Oh, you know what? You can. They actually go. They don't do anything. They're just bendable plastic. But you can sit there and pretend to play the keyboard because they do move up and down. I think these little valves would open on the original set piece. But, yeah, interesting discovery for me. There's a really good YouTuber called That Junkman who does a lot of Star Wars stuff. And he exposes kind of the unknown story of a lot of these old toys. In fact, when I talked about my Dagobah playset, how there are a couple of names hidden in the playset, it was through That Junkman that I discovered that. He did a video about when Kenner decisions influenced the movies, and in the case of Max himself, there was a change that occurred. The extended universe and Wikipedia and all these things that talk about Max and his species all show him like this, you know, hobbling along, wearing a glorified diaper and doing his thing and probably, you know, carrying around. But in the original drawings, and I'll put a link below to That Junkman's video, in the original drawings for the filming of Return of the Jedi, Max is actually stopped at here. Like, he doesn't have anything below the waist. His hindquarters are here, and it's not his arms that he's playing with. These are his feet. He's kind of a head, a body, and 2 feet that sit on top of the piano set, and they're playing with their feet. That's what the original design was. And there are drawings that Junkman shows that, yeah, in fact, Kenner, whenever they created this character, I guess they just thought, you know what, we'll make a little hole, we'll make him a character that can walk around, and that'll answer a lot of production issues. But compared to what the original design was for this alien in that scene in Return of the Jedi, this character changed, and it looks like Kenner actually influenced it. So that's pretty interesting. Very, very cool. Anyway, so let's just set him back. So there is Jabba and his cronies on the Jabba the Hutt playset. I don't know. I think that's a bit of a cheat here. Let's move Salacious over a bit. A bit of a cheat, but you know what? I guess we'll let it slide. Yeah, this is a very, very cool set. And I just thought, well, since I've seen kind of this disc thing behind Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett, when he went in and took over Jabba's palace, I thought, you know what, we should actually talk about Jabba and the band, and we can drink to their prosperity? I don't know. They didn't meet to a very happy ending. Maybe Max and Sy got away. Who knows? And Droopy McCool. All right. Well, Cheers, and until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.